Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
So after the class, we are going to have the talk by Maharaj. And after the talk, we are going to have some announcements about the upcoming festivals. And our biggest festival of the year, Shri Krishna Janmashtami, is just 3 weeks away. On August 26th is our biggest festival of the year, and all the preparations are already in full swing. So we'll have more information about our Janmashtami festival just 3 weeks from now and how you can get involved. But after the class, we'll have the announcements. But right now, let's all hear from His Holiness Bhai Krishna Goswami Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Haribol. So thank you very much, Aditya Narayan Prabhu, and it's nice to see everybody here on this Sunday. And Janmashtami is in about 3 weeks from now. A little more, 3 weeks. So please come. So today we're going to at least start this talk about the different limbs of devotional practice. But first we'll chant Jai Radha Madhava. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balaba Girivara Dhagute Gopi Jana Balaba Girivara Dhagute Yasodanandana Prachajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Prachajana Ranjana Natira Vanachade Yamuna Tera Vanachare Jayo Radha Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhagute Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhagute Yasodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tera Vanachare Yamuna Tera Vanachare Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava
kunja bihute.
Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahang Sapa Vidakacharya also Teta Satashi Shimad. His Divine Grace Avaya Charananda Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai. Maturam Ki Jai. Jagannath Swami Ki Jai. Yamunamaya Ki Jai. Shrimati Lasadevi Ki Jai. Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Go Premananda Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Samaniti Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharani Nivashesha Sunyavadi Pashtacha Deja Tarani. So, Om Gana Timidanda Shagananjana Shlakaya Jakshuram Miditam Yena Tasmai Shigaravena Maha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and the past acharyas, we have gotten some understanding of what's called the science of devotional service. Now, some people think that science only means you go to the laboratory and you have a, not exactly laboratory, but some controlled experiment, double-blind controlled experiment, and then you come up with some conclusions, or you observe some phenomena in the universe, or some phenomena in the microscopic or nanoscopic realm, and then you come up with some inferences to the best possible explanation. But there is a spiritual science too, which cannot be understood with material instruments or with the blunt material senses. Takshi Krishna Namadi Vabhavet Krimendriyat Sevamukhehi Jivado Swayameva Spirachita. And this spiritual science can only be understood with consciousness. So how do you measure consciousness? That's an interesting question. You definitely can't measure it with a thermometer. But even with a thermometer, you can't measure the sound vibration in a room. Isn't it? Each and every instrument has a specific object which it measures or perceives. So as far as spirituality, the instrument is the soul, is consciousness, because the quality of the soul is consciousness. So that's how we can perceive. It's really interesting. And the experiential level of consciousness cannot be understood materially. But consciousness is consciousness. And it's just as real. Just like all of you are conscious, hopefully, if you haven't fallen asleep already. Just like all of you are conscious, and it's real. You're having a real experience. Even in a dream, you're having a real experience. I'm not saying the dream is real in an empirical sense, but you're having a real experience. You had a dream, and you had that experience. So there's an experience in Krishna consciousness that is the result of the practice of Krishna consciousness. And you can do a controlled experiment if you like. I don't think it could be blind or double blind. Because in a double blind experiment, even the experimenter doesn't know who's been given the real medicine and who's been given the placebo. Hope everyone's following what I'm saying. But in Krishna consciousness, we cannot do a double-blind experiment. But we can do an experiment in consciousness. And that experiment means following a certain procedure. And that procedure has been given in the Vedic literatures. And that procedure has been applied according to time, place, and circumstance by the learned acharyas. Because there's different procedures for different people. For example, in the Satya Yuga, the procedure for Krishna consciousness, self-realization, transcendence was was meditation, the meditational yoga system. And it was easy for everyone because everybody, or just about everybody, was Paramahansa. They could control the mind very, very easily. Whereas Arjuna states in the Gita, Chanchala hi manaha Krishna pramata balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayor eva shadushkaram. What? The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and to control is more difficult than controlling the wind. Because we're in Kali Yuga, manda samanda mata matayo manda bhagyo padrata. We're short-lived, our memory is very challenged, etc. We're unfortunate. And so, how can we do this yoga system? Maybe a few exceptional people in the Himalayas who come for the Kumbh Mela can do this yoga system. But for the rest of us, that's not applicable, even though it's bona fide. So the doctor has to apply the medicine. Doctor is Guru Acharya Sadhu. The Vedic literatures are like prescriptions, but the prescription has to be given according to the circumstance. And of course, then you have the Treta Yuga, where opulent sacrifices were the mode. And then the Dwapara Yuga, where big temple worship was the mode. And you have Kali Yuga, where the modes are bad. So therefore, Kaler Doshan and Hez Rajan, Ashiko Mahad Gunat, Kirtanadeva Krishnasha Mukta Sangha Paramvajet. Although we do meditation. How do we do meditation? Well, we chant the holy names of the Lord, and this way, Nama, Guna, Rupa, Lila. We begin to have pictured in our hearts, in our consciousness, the qualities and form and pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we do meditation, but it doesn't really look like the meditation done in Satya Yuga. And we do sacrifices. Of course, the sacrifices, Yagyahi Sankirtana Prayar, Yajanti Sumedasa. The primary sacrifice is chanting the holy name. Because chanting the holy name is more powerful than all the Vedas put together. More powerful than all the havans you've ever done or anyone's ever done. More powerful than all the holy places. Imagine if you had some like super potent method. And that super potent method is Krishna Nam Sankirtan. So we're very fortunate. So we do sacrifices. And we do have deity worship. And the purpose of the deity worship is for us to appreciate the transcendental form of the Lord so we become inspired in the Yuga Dharma, which is Krishna Nam Sankirtan. So anyway, so the Acharyas, getting back to the point, this is supposed to be an introduction. The Acharyas have actually given us a whole scientific process how to practice this bhakti in this day and age. And of course, the chanting is primary. And the scientific process involves three different aspects of knowledge. One is called sambandha. The other aspect is called abhideya. And the third aspect is called prayojana. The first aspect means knowing who, sambandha, who we are, who the Lord is, what the material energy is, what the spiritual energy is, and the relationship between all these, basic, what we call foundational knowledge. And abhideya means how to practice having the understanding of that basic knowledge. In other words, how to reach the spiritual goal. And prayojana is the goal. So all three are necessary. So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about a few of the practices. There are 64 primary practices that have been enumerated by one of the great devotees whom we are actually followers of in the Krishna consciousness movement. And that great devotee is named Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami is the direct descendant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself who came to teach the Yuga Dharma. He's the Yuga Avatar. Avatar means someone who crosses down. And Yuga Avatar means someone who crosses down and teaches the Yuga Dharma, what we're supposed to do in this day and age. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally instructed Rupa Goswami to teach this abhideya, which means the practice of connecting with Krishna, realizing the spiritual goal. He instructed Sanatana Goswami in Sambandha, that is understanding the basic tattvas, which I mentioned before. And he instructed Raghunath Das Goswami in presenting to everyone the ultimate goal of Krishna consciousness. So, Rupa Goswami has elaborated in what Srila Prabhupada calls the law book for the Krishna consciousness movement in Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which means the nectarian ocean of devotional service. This Amrita, or eternal nectarian ocean of devotional service, which our Srila Prabhupada has translated as the nectar of devotion. And this is one of the first books that Prabhupada actually published, because in this way we're told how to practice. And in the book, there are many aspects of Krishna consciousness being taught, such as why we suffer in this world, or the benefits of devotional service, which we're not going to talk about right now. The different benefits of devotional service, such as immediate relief from all distress and beginning of auspiciousness. And we request you all to get a copy of this book and read it. Just read it carefully. Try to understand how important this bhakti is. So part of this book, one of the chapters is entitled 64 Limbs of Devotion and Practice. So these are activities that help us develop devotion. It's scientific, as I said before. If you follow the activities, of course, activities are done externally, but also they're meant to be done in devotional service internally. In this world, we do many of our activities just externally or ritualistically. Like, for example, many of you ladies clean clothes, right? Some of you men may do that too. And so you put the clothes in your washing machine. And after they've been in the washing machine, you put them in the dryer. Unless you're in India. India, usually they don't have dryers. We had one devotee who wanted to have a dryer in India. And he put it in his check-in baggage from Australia to India. Anyway, nothing to do with the class. I just thought I'd slip that in. They asked him at the airport, what is that? A dryer. So, anyway, so you do your laundry, but maybe you are thinking devotionally of your husbands, I don't know. But you're just throwing the stuff in the laundry machine, turning the dial, and that's it. The laundry machine does it all. It's not, as I said, I may be wrong in your particular case, but it's not that your heart is into it. Raise your hand if your heart is into it. You just say, this is something I got to do, right? You got to do or else everything's dirty. So, it's an activity. But that activity should not be compared to Krishna conscious activities, because Krishna conscious activities are done with the body and the mind and the heart and the words. As Rupa Goswami states in this same literature, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Anyabi lashita shunyam jnana karma navratam anukuyena krishnanushilinam bhaktarutabam. He says this devotional service doesn't entail any desire for subtle or gross material enjoyment or even liberation, but it means serving Krishna in a way that Krishna wants you to serve him with a spirit of devotion. So these activities that I'm going to outline right now should be done in a spirit of devotion. Otherwise, they are something called niyam agraha. They become, even the same activity can become an impediment. I'll give you an example. Let's say let's get back to washing the clothes again, okay? That's an easy example. And you're washing, for you ladies, you're washing your husband's clothes. And so, let's say you wash your husband's clothes and you just throw them in front of him. He might get angry. I'm not going to ask if that happens. So he might get angry because you're not doing it with the right consciousness. He says, where's my clothes? He's like, here they are. So the same clothes, maybe they're ironed nicely, but then it'll have an adverse effect as far as the relationship is concerned. Whereas if you iron his clothes and you put a little flour on top. I know you only do that before you get married, but you put a little flour on top and you smile sweetly, whatever that means, then it enhances the relationship. So the same activity, cleaning the clothes, everything, can have completely opposite effects depending upon the consciousness, because the face is the index of the mind. So in the same thing with Krishna consciousness, but in doing these activities for Krishna, it's not that Krishna is simply looking in our face. He knows. Sarvasya chaham riddhi sanavishto. He's in the heart. He knows what your consciousness is like when you're doing whatever you're doing. That's scary, isn't it? He knows what you're thinking. He knows what you're feeling. He knows what your intention is. Ishwara sarvabhutanam. Hridesha Arjuna tishtati. Brahmayan sarvabhutani. Yantra rudani maya. So this is the point. To do these things, but with the desire to please Krishna. Now, why should we desire to please Krishna? Because if we desire to please Krishna, then we become happy and we become Krishna conscious. So there's literal self-motivation there. But of course, in the perfectional stage, when one is an absolutely pure devotee, you desire to please Krishna because you simply want Krishna to be happy. But in the beginning, akama, sarvakama, moksha kama, we may have so many desires. We may desire just to get out of this material world, or we have no desires. But in any case, it's usually something based on us. Krishna, give me your mercy. Make me Krishna conscious. Make me so I don't have to suffer so much in this material world. Give me spiritual realization. So, anyway, so we have different motives. The motive or reason for doing these things differs according to the individual. And so, therefore, it's important to have a sankalpa. When you do any of these activities, especially the chanting, it's important to have an intention. Intention means basically, a sankalpa means, why am I doing what I'm doing? It's a very simple concept to understand. And then you'll be doing devotional service from a more deep place in your heart rather than simply automatic pilot. So let's start with the 64 limbs of devotional service. And this is practice. We're practicing. This is called sadhana bhakti. Vaidhi, sadhana. Because in the beginning, you got to practice. You got to practice thinking of Krishna. You got to practice focusing your mind. You have to practice because we have so many impurities that we've accumulated from past births in this world. So many bad samskaras. There's that word samskara again. Now the word samskara means an impression. Just like we have so many impressions, even from this lifetime, from our childhood, impressions from years ago, impressions from yesterday, and these impressions are clogging or contaminating our consciousness. So we have all these impressions, so it's important to basically try to cleanse them from the heart by the process of devotional service. So anyway, so let's get on with the 64 limbs of devotional practice. Whoops. Hopefully it's going to work. And as I don't know if you can see this clearly because it's very small. The rest of it's going to be pretty big. There's 20 items of primary importance and 44 additional items. And at the last five items actually, are of extreme importance and are essential. So we try to adapt or adopt as many of these activities that we can do. And of course, I'm going to mention those that are extremely important, essential. There's a few that are extremely important, that are absolutely necessary. There's a logical term called necessary. Two logical terms, necessary and sufficient. So necessary means you can't have Krishna consciousness without it. You can't be a pure devotee without it. So the first one, of course, this is taught, again, by Rupa Goswami, and who learned from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is accepting the shelter of the lotus feet of a bona fide spiritual master. So what this means is, first of all, you got to find one. What is a bona fide spiritual master? That's the first point. And Prabhupada, quoting from the Upanishads, states, Tadviganartam sa gurumeva abhigachet samipani shrotriyam brahmanishtam. A bona fide spiritual master is one who is in disciplic succession coming down from Krishna or Krishna's representative. But ultimately, all disciplic successions start with Krishna or one of his expansions, such as Lord Vishnu. Like you have the four bona fide disciplic successions, Vaishnava disciplic successions. The Brahma Sampradaya, the Rudra Sampradaya, Kumara Sampradaya, and the Lakshmi Sampradaya, or the Sri Sampradaya. So that's the first point. And there must be an unbroken chain in disciplic succession. And the guru, the prospective guru, must be a servant of his guru, not someone who is independently propagating his own version of the Vedic truths. So it requires a great intelligence to ascertain. Now we see in the case of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, all those qualities are there. And we're going to talk about some of these qualities as we go through the list. So that the first point, why do we need the shelter? Because in this world, we have imperfect senses. We have a tendency to make mistakes. We have a tendency to cheat. And we have a tendency to be an illusion. So if we have all these tendencies, how can we understand anything transcendental? Or how can we even understand this material world? I mean, the scientists, biologists, they don't even understand fully what's going on in the cell in the body. And that's right there, right in front of your, not in front of your eyes, but it's there. There's no scientist on this planet who can tell me what's happening in any of the cells, completely, what's happening in any of the cells on my arm. So what to speak of spiritual reality? So therefore, tadviganartum, sagurum eva bigachet. It's essential to take shelter and to take instruction. And then become initiated by the spiritual master, that's number 2, and learn how to discharge devotional service. Now, what is this initiation business? Is it just a sacrifice? No. You can sit for a sacrifice and get a Hare Krishna name and not be initiated. Initiation means with spiritual knowledge. And it also means making a promise, vow, connection. Just like when you join a particular workplace, then there's, some formalities, signing contracts and everything like that. It's not that you just show up at your job in Microsoft or wherever. Because I think it was Intel who just fired a bunch of people. So it's not that you just show up there and say, hi, I'm ready to work, and you sit down at your desk. Do you? At least as far as I know. I'm a volunteer here today at Intel. No, you have a contract. And there's terms in the contract. That if you do this, they'll do that. Of course, they can and will fire you. That's another thing. Krishna doesn't fire anyone. You fire yourself. Because Krishna doesn't have a problem with having enough income. Krishna's not trying to maximize his material profits. So there's room for everybody. If you think, Krishna has 16,108 wives, there's no time for me. So you don't have to worry about that. But there's a contract. And that contract gives you your pay. And the pay in Krishna consciousness is Krishna's mercy. So you say, Krishna, I don't want to have a contract with you. That's like modern day so-called loving affairs, The girl says to the boy that, can we get married? He says, no, marriage is material. Of course it may be material, but where's how are you making any sort of connection or sambandha there? Unless there's some formality. And not also formality in practice. Because in this world, we're manoratena. We're on the mental platform. And if we try to do something one day, we may not do it the next day unless we actually have a firm commitment to do it. Just like here, we are chanting 16 rounds a day and following the 4 regulative principles. And unless we've actually made a promise, then what's the guarantee that we're actually going to be able to comply? So this is very, very important. And then after you made that promise, in this second principle, a devotional practice, then you learn how to discharge devotional service according to your level of devotional service. I was just reading one of the early biographies of Srila Prabhupada, and it was describing how Prabhupada would deal with the absolutely new people who just came to the movement differently than how he would deal with people who had been in the movement 5 or 10 years. So there's a personal relationship like that. So that's the second principle, accepting. First one is getting the spiritual master, then accepting initiation and learning from him how to discharge devotional service. And this one is very much connected. Obeying the orders of the spiritual master with faith and devotion. Those two words there. Remember that? We talked about ritualistic behavior. So with faith and devotion. Like Prabhupada describes, the Bhagavatam describes, that a first-class servant does what his boss wants, or a spiritual master wants. Let's not use the word boss, without being asked. And he does it gladly. Second class does what the person, his spiritual master wants, and after he's asked, and he does it gladly. Third class does because he's basically forced to do it, and he has a very bad attitude, or no attitude at all. So in other words, Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavanyas chasmi tatvataha. Isn't it? Tatvato gyatva vishadetad anantaram. As Krishna says in the Gita, only by devotion can I be known. It's interesting. One of the last verses in the Bhagavad Gita. Comes right after Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma. Nasochati Nakankshati. Samaksarveshu Bhuteshu Magbhaktim Labate Param. After you come to the platform of spirit, then you still will not understand Krishna unless you actually have this bhakti. Bhakti means the desire to please again. So the spiritual master is sometimes compared to be the tax collector. That doesn't mean he only collects money. That means he collects one's devotion and he gives it to Krishna. We were instructed in the beginning days of the Krishna conscious movement that when you are offering food to Krishna, you offer it to Guru, and Guru offers it to Krishna. Because we do not have the ability to offer to Krishna directly. Because Krishna says, Bhaktimam abhijanati, only by devotion. So how many of us have this devotion? But Guru has that devotion. So next one is following in the footsteps of the great acharyas. In other words, the spiritual master comes in this line of precepts, preceptorial acharyas, and he connects us with the acharyas. Like Srila Prabhupada connected us with Srila Rupa Goswami. He didn't say that, here's my instructions for you. He validated his instructions. He elaborated his instructions by connecting them with the past acharyas. And if you read Srila Prabhupada's purports, you'll see that Prabhupada is doing this. So very, very important. Very, very important to connect, like Prabhupada said, we can read the books of the past acharyas. But first, we should understand his books. And one thing I've realized is that when you read Srila Prabhupada's books, Nectar Devotion, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita, then even when you read the books of the past acharyas like Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Jaiva Dharma or any of Srila Jiva Goswami's works, you'll see that basically the basic information is there in Prabhupada's books. Basic. I mean, it just, when I read, for example, I read the Jaiva Dharma sometimes of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I find that it actually corroborates everything that Srila Prabhupada says. Like, for example, Srila Prabhupada's statements about the nature of the soul. Nityasiddha, that's what Siddhas Krishna Prem Sajakoranoi. That how the soul is actually has love of Krishna and needs to be awakened. Like Prabhupada used the expression. It's interesting. Prabhupada used the expression back to home, back to God. Prabhupada coined that expression. You don't find that expression being used by any previous acharya. So, back to home. So, exactly what that means is explained by the previous acharyas. The Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, in that verse I just quoted, Nityasiddha Krishna Prem, Sajakoranoi, Shravanadi Shuddhachite, Kore Udoy. That all of us have Krishna consciousness, and it just has to be awakened. Back to home, back to God, by the process, Shravanadi. Isn't it? Then the pure heart, the Shuddhachite, then becomes awakened. Or Bhaktivinoda Thakur, what? Jeev Jago, right? Gorachanda Bole, Kota Nidra, Yo Maya, Pisa Chira Kole. This is a famous song, Arunadaya Kirtan by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in which he's stating, wake up! Sorry. I just noticed. Is he talking about me? So, wake up, sleeping souls. Jeev Jago. Lord Chaitanya is calling. So anyway, there's so many statements. So this actually enhances our faith in Srila Prabhupada by connecting with the previous acharyas. So Srila Prabhupada connects us. He's not saying. Anyway, today just for fun, I was looking at some. I'm not going to mention this bogus guru's name. And he just like, where did he get this philosophy? He was on. Anyway, he was in one of these talks. I just wanted to see. He's famous. And I said, oh my God, where does he come up with this? His own unique philosophy. It's interesting. It's attractive, but it's all his unique philosophy. He was actually talking about how, anyway, I don't want to pollute everyone's mind, but how he realized that Lord Shiva was a person who appeared 7,000 years ago. He was just a man, a great yogi. Anyway, it's, oh my God, and he's one of the most famous gurus I've ever seen in America. Popular. So, because there's no connection there. It's just like someone who can juggle words nicely, someone who can present things that are very interesting, stimulate or titillate your senses, and then that's it. So, anyway, connecting with the previous acharyas is very important. I'm going to just do one or two more, and next week we'll continue, but because I think there's a lot to explain about this. Inquiring from the spiritual master how to advance in Krishna consciousness. Tadvini pradipatena pradipashnena seveya. Isn't it? As Krishna says in the Gita. One approaches the spiritual master, inquires submissively, and renders service. So you see how these initial ones are very much connected with Guru. How to advance in Krishna consciousness. Next one. Being prepared to give up anything material for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality. Got it. Now, this is a gradual process. But as I said before, if one has the sankalpa, the desire to achieve something, then as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Vyavasayatmika buddhir, Ekeha Kurunandana, that those who are in this path, this is the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, they're one-pointed, Ekeha Kurunandana, And so, but those who are Bo Shaktas Durantas Ja, they're all over the place because, in the second verse from that, because of Bogaishvarya Prasaktanam Taya Pratachetasam. Vyavasayatmaka Buddhya Samado Nividiyate. So if you want to achieve something in this world, you really have to be focused. And practically every successful man, woman in this world has been focused on their goal. They don't just like space out. So, in other words, intelligently, not that everyone should take sannyas, intelligently being able to connect everything with Krishna. Or as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu states in his surrendering practices and principles, to accept everything favorable for serving Krishna. And that means one could do so many things in serving Krishna. One can raise a family for Krishna. One could do a business for Krishna. It's not just a stereotyped surrender of some yogi somewhere. So one can do all these things under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master and the sadhus. One can do so many things for Krishna. So accepting what's favorable, and if something's unfavorable, then you give it up. Like if you're running a McDonald's, hopefully you give that up. I don't see how that can be made favorable. So, but you can run a vegetarian restaurant. You can work a job, again, in Intel, Microsoft, and give the results to Krishna. You can have a big family, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, so many children. Raise them in Krishna consciousness. So, okay, we'll do one more. And then we'll take questions about this. And maybe next week we'll go to... This is so interesting. I love this. Okay, here's an interesting one. So you're all going to leave your homes right now. Residing in a sacred place of pilgrimage like Dwarka or Vrindavan. Okay. So we're selling tickets. So what this means is wherever Krishna's name is chanted, Krishna consciousness is being practiced, the regulative principles are being followed, and you're offering your food to Krishna, and you have some sort of puja room with Radha and Krishna, or Gaurnatai, or Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra Maharani, or some Vishnu Tattva deity, and a picture of a bona fide guru, Srila Prabhupada, and other bona fide gurus, then that place is a place of pilgrimage. Wherever Krishna Katha is being chanted and heard, that place is a place of pilgrimage, because it's stated that wherever a pure devotee is a place of pilgrimage. So if you're reading, hearing, chanting under the instructions of a pure devotee, like His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, like Prabhupada said, that he's present in his books, or Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, he reasons ill, says that Vaishnavas die when thou art living still and sound. Then that place becomes transformed, much like an embassy is a sort of a transformation of the country which it represents. In other words, okay, let's talk about Venezuela right now. Sorry. They're having some controversy about their election. So many of the people who are fearful of getting arrested, they've taken shelter in certain embassies within that country. Obviously not the Venezuelan embassy, because that embassy has the right to apply its own rules within its precincts, right? So if you go into the Swiss embassy, then you're in Switzerland. I mean, obviously you're not really in Switzerland, but it's representing Switzerland. So, like Prabhupada said, these temples are embassies of the spiritual world. They're Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha means free from material anxiety. You may get spiritual anxiety, but that's okay. That's purifying. So these temples and your homes can be made into a spiritual, sacred place of pilgrimage. And in this way, you don't really have to give anything up. But everywhere you live should be a place of worship of Krishna. Somehow or other, just like when I go to someone's house, just like the other day, yesterday, I was in someone's house, and the first thing I said is, where is the, what? The puja room. You know, because always this, go to someone's house, you know, sannyasi, they have this big seat with an orange cloth on it, and garlands, and arti, and fans, and, you know, it's my life. And a plate of prasadam as big as this room, you know. You know, so, and opulent garlands and everything like that. So, you know, you just go to a place and you look and say, oh, goody, it's for me. No, no. You go, first thing when you visit someone's house, I mean, obviously, if they're a devotee. I mean, if you visit a Rakshasa, a Ravana's house, you can even ask him where the puja room is. He worships Lord Shiva. So you can pay respects to Lord Shiva. Even he is good in that respect. So I asked, you know, where's the puja room? And immediately, wherever it is, I go there and offer respects. And also, I can ascertain the spiritual level of that particular family. So it's a spine. So, anyway, this makes a place, everybody should have a specific place for Krishna in the house where you offer your food. Very, very important. Everyone should have an altar. I mean, some people, it's very small apartments, so they have to do it like in a little closet or whatever it is. I understand that. But everyone should have a place that's for Krishna. I mean, you have a place for yourself, so make a place for Krishna, and whatever you eat, whatever you offer, yat karoshi yat ashnashi yat jahoshi dadasi yat yatapashashi kontiya tat manarpanam should be done as an offering to Krishna. So this is Krishna conscious. So these are the 7 principles we laid out so far, and if I give class next week, I will go over some of the, because this could be a multi-week presentation, because I think it's important to explain each and every one of these, and these are important principles and practices. So, any questions or comments about anything I may have said? Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj. So, Maharaj, in the beginning or middle of the class, you mentioned one word, niyam agraha.
Niyam agraha.
So, my question is that for a sadhaka or a practicing devotee, how to see if we are evolving from niyam agraha to doing things with devotion and faith?
How do we see? It means being a little introspective. At every minute we should be thinking, why am I doing what I'm doing? Niyamagraha means, basically, use this expression, which I've used many times before, putting yourself on automatic pilot. I mean, just like okay, here's an example, personal example. The other day, I was actually yesterday, I was going to someone's house for prasadam, and I put my car on, automatic pilot. And I was sitting there. How nice. How nice, And then, fortunately, I was paying attention. This is a little caution for those of you who have cars that drive themselves. There was a left-hand turn, and there were bushes blocking my vision of the right-hand lane that was coming in my direction. And so I could see, there was space in the bushes. There were 2 or 3 bushes, but I could see in the space. There were cars coming. You understand what I'm talking about? But my car didn't see the cars coming. So it started to put its pedal to the metal to make the left-hand turn. And I said, stop. So because I wasn't doing Niyam Agraha, I'm still here today. But it was up to my car. You know, we'd be doing some sort of memory ceremony right now. Well, yeah, you have to be attentive. That's the point. Krishna consciousness is the same thing. That, you know, one really has to be attentive and not just think, you know, I can, you know, just, you know, wake me up when we get to my destination. Wake me up when I finish my japa. Right? You know, sometimes even when you're driving a car that doesn't have an automatic pilot, then you're not paying attention and you're thinking, how did I get home? You ever have that experience? Because you're just following the same path every day, the same, right, and you don't even remember driving. It's a little dangerous. So driving and chanting are both dangerous. Inattentive driving, inattentive chanting. Because we don't have something that buzzes at us when we get inattentive. So, I think we know. So any other questions or comments? Because it's... Yes.
Hi, Krishna. Thank you. So I was wondering about the spiritual science we can understand with our material senses and the mind, the material modes. How does intelligence play into that?
Intelligence means that we understand that transcendental direction comes from a higher source rather than the mind. It's as simple as that. And even though it may not either make sense to us or we may not understand it, somehow or other we trust, that's the faith, we trust in the higher direction that is right. I mean, okay, another example of driving. Let's say there's an app on the phone. Now, I'm not saying I don't have absolute faith in it. It's called Waze. And sometimes I'm with devotees who refuse to use it, and they take longer to get to a particular destination. They think, I know how to get there. So, of course, this is a mundane example. Waze is not perfect. Obviously, it does make mistakes. Sometimes you'll drive into a river. You got to use your common sense too. But just using the example, let's say if you had an omniscient app on your phone, which would be kind of nice, then you would trust that more in your own judgment, and then you'd follow it. Okay, forget about Waze. Okay, so any other questions or comments? No? Okay, so now we, what? Oh, Rishikesh, quick, because it's time for prasadam. How does it match up with each other? Okay, so devotion, they're actually two different things, but they're connected. Faith means, well, Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Sakahe Sudrita Nishya. Faith means that if I follow directions to obtain a particular thing, then I will accomplish it. You know, this is a definition given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Sakahe Sudrita Nishya. Means having firm conviction that if I do something. But devotion means you want to do it. You understand? So you have to want to do it or attain Krishna consciousness. And then that faith gives you the methodology, the trust. Okay, faith is trust that the methodology is effective. Does that make sense? Faith is trust, implicit trust. That's what faith. Faith is not belief. You can believe so many things, but you don't trust those things. For example, if you are a criminal, you believe the police exist, but you don't follow them. So there's sometimes people say in certain religious practices, simply believe and you'll be saved. You ever hear that before? Belief doesn't entail you to be, doesn't give you the benefit of being saved. Like belief in the police doesn't make you an honest person. So faith is trust, implicit trust, that if I do what the person says, then everything will be accomplished, if I do what Krishna says. And, okay? Okay, time to end. So there's time for prasadam. Thank you very much. All glory is to His Divine Grace. Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. So first of all, let's express our gratitude to His Holiness Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj for this wonderful class on the nectar of devotion. His Holiness Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki. So we just covered 7 of the 64 items. So
Yeah.
we look forward to hearing the next further points. So thank you so much, Maharaj, such an enlivening presentation. And also this is nice for our upcoming festival in Janmashtami. We can actually see this Janmashtami, how we can go deeper in following these principles and how we can make these principles a part of our lives. So it's like a perfect timing to prepare our consciousness for Janmashtami. Thank you so much. His Holiness Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki jai. So a few quick announcements. First of all, we would we are requesting prayers for Panjali Ramlu. So this is the grandmother of Keshavan Prabhu, and she is getting close to leaving her body. So we request her prayers for her, so we can all pray to Sri Sri Radha Golokananda that in this last moment she can be absorbed in devotion to their lotus feet and can attain their shelter. So let's loudly chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, praying for Keshavan Prabhu's grandmother. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Also we have wonderful devotees from Houston, Kuvera Prabhu, and there's a whole group of Kuvera Prabhu is here? Yes, behind. So please stand up, Prabhuji. So this is Kuvera Prabhu, and they are traveling with a group of devotees, right? Who all are with you? Maybe you can raise your hands. Okay. Okay, wonderful. They actually, Prabhuji is very much involved with serving Neil Madhav deities in Houston, and he makes garland and beautiful seva to their lordships. So he's visiting New Goloka. So let's warmly welcome Kuvera Prabhu. Hariva! Also, we'd like to thank the devotees who have prepared the bhoga offering for the pleasure of their lordships and all the Vaishnavas. Today's prasadam is cooked by Nitai Padakamala group. This is the Bhakti Sangha group from Holy Spring and Fuquay Varina. Haribo! Also, we don't have a sponsorer for the feast today. So if anyone is interested to sponsor the feast, please let me know. Okay. Coming up this week, we have a special guest who will be visiting in town. His Holiness Haldar Swami Maharaj will be in town. So he's a disciple of His Holiness Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj. And he'll be giving classes tomorrow, so Monday, Tuesday evening, and then Tuesday morning and Wednesday morning. So 4 classes are going to be there. So Monday evening and Tuesday evening, the classes are going to be in Cary. Monday at Murari Chaitanya Prabhu's house, Tuesday at Brijesh Prabhu's house, and then Tuesday morning, Maharaj will be here in the temple room giving the Srimad Bhagavatam class, and Wednesday morning it is at Subhash Prabhu's house. Right? So 4 classes. Maharaj gives wonderful classes, so please do join Monday. So next 3 days we'll have programs with Haldar Swami Maharaj. And coming up on a festival, the festivals, on 19th of August is Balaram Purnima. Haribo! Shri Balaram Ji ki! And 1 week after that, on August 26th, is our biggest festival of the year, Shri Krishna Janmashtami Maha Mahotsav Ki. So this year it falls on a Monday, so we'll have the program on Monday. It starts at 4 p.m. and will go all the way till midnight. Here on Janmashtami, we get like thousands of people here. 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people coming on to our temple on Janmashtami. So we request everyone to be a part of this Janmashtami festival by offering some seva to organize this big festival. We need a lot of help, like cooking prasadam, and then maybe parking seva, and then welcome booth, and then Radha Krishna boat festival, and then Abhishek. So much is happening. His Holiness Big Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki jai. So much is happening for Janmashtami. So please sign up for the services. We'll be sending out the information. And also when you go downstairs, we'll have flyers. So if anyone would like to take some flyers and post them around, flyers and posters, you can take them and put them in the Indian store close to you, or any place where you can actually put up posters. We have extra posters. So please take them with you when you leave today. Right? We want to put them in Cary, Morrisville, Greensboro area, everywhere. So we request everyone, you can take some posters, or in your community you can put up the poster. So please stop by the table and I'll give you some posters to put around. Okay. And so 26 is Janmashtami, 27 is the appearance of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay. And one last thing, so in September, we have this campaign known as Bhadra campaign. This is all around the world. We are focusing on distributing Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the essence of all the Vedas, all the scriptures. So for this Bhadra campaign, when you go downstairs, devotees will tell you more about how you can be a part of this Bhadra campaign, how you can help distribute Srimad Bhagavatam. And for the next, we are doing this 8 weeks, so last week was the first one. Next 7 weeks, every week we are going to have one shloka from the Bhagavatam, and we request all of you to memorize the shloka, and that way you will know the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. So quickly, just 2 minutes, we will have one shloka. Today Advait Chandra will recite the shloka.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So nice to see all of you. So yes. Okay, so this is from the first canto, 3rd chapter, and 43rd verse. This is on the glories again, on Srimad Bhagavatam. It's the 2nd verse. Last week was Idam Bhagavatam Nama. So we'll start off with a quick explanation. Krishna Swadhamo Pagate. Everybody repeat it. Krishna Swadhamo Pagate. When Krishna went to Swadhama, his own town, Upagate he went, Dharma Jnanadi Bhisaha. Along with dharma and jnana. And then Kalo Nashta Drishamesha. In Kali, all of us, we have Nashta Drisham, we have lost our vision of what is right and wrong. We've lost all that intelligence because dharma and jnana have left. So that's why Puranarko Dhunodhita. So in this age of Kali, this Puran has come as Arka, as the sun, to give us all this light of jnana and dharma. Because that all left with Krishna, but Bhagavatam is Krishna himself who has come back to give this jnana and dharma to all of us. Alright, we will start the recitation. Krishna Swadhamo Pagate Dharma Jnana Dibhisaha Kalo Nashta Drishamesha Puranarko Dhunodita Krishna Swadhamo Pagate Dharma Jnanadibhisaha Kalo Nashta Drishamesha Puranarko Dhunodita. Any devotees would like to chant?
Dharma Jnana Divisaha Kalau Nashta Drishamesha उरानार्को धुनोदितः
Krishna swadama dhammopagate dharma jnanadibisaha kalo nasta drishamesha puranarko dunodita